Tabletopped will start after the following messages.
Hello everyone and welcome to 5 Gyms in a Trench Coat.
Excuse me?
Yeah?
What's that?
You want to know what 5 Gyms in a Trench Coat is? Let us tell you.
It's the adhesive that keeps the fragile pieces of my sanity together.
Well, okay, Jesse, what it actually is a narrative-driven TTRPG actual play where 5 friends take turns weaving stories through the tabletop game of their choice.
Of their choice?
Each season?
Each season.
That's pretty cool.
I disagree.
Oh.
I feel it's the adhesive.
So, like, you guys aren't all in a trench coat?
No, we're definitely in a trench coat.
How does that work?
Get her.
Before I'm caught, you can check out 5 Games in a Trench Coat just about anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can check out our website at 5gamesinaTrenchcoat.com. Oh my god, they really are all in a trench coat.
Hi everyone, Nick here from Tabletopped, and guess what? Today we make a module on the podcast. It's all about Fae and Fairy mischief and horror, and guess what? We actually followed through this time. We made the module. The first draft is coming out this Wednesday. If you're interested in playing it or seeing what we do, well, then you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/tabletopped. We will post the version there. And guess what? You can get it for free, so don't worry about that. Once we finalize everything in the module, we will have that for sale as well. I hope you all enjoy this conversation. Welcome back to Tabletop, everyone. Today, we are doing you all the biggest favor of your filthy little lives. We're building a Halloween one-shot.
Be grateful as we improvise this one-shot, and then we send it out to all of you.
Yeah, and then you are all forced to do it for your one-shot
What,
this
did
year.
you think we were going to pay off your student debt? No chance.
Anyway, so we're going to do this in the way that we have in the past. Today, it's me, Nick.
Me, Franco.
And me, Shade.
We're all here. We're going to be building this from scratch using the sort of fairy tale, fae, horror idea that we talked about last week. So does anyone have basic ground rules or anything that we want to talk about at the top?
So I think that for it to be a traditional kind of fairy tale idea, we need, of course, a clearly fae big bad. Mm-hmm. We need a number of fae like minions. I mean, very easy thing.
Potential allies as well.
Fae allies, and then we also need though something that what's that?
Like a framework.
A framework, yeah, absolutely. But I was gonna say a thing that is going to be learned at the end.
Yeah,
now,
like
we kind of talk
like a lesson,
kind of like a lesson. But like, I know that the fairy tales aren't always like morality tales, but we kind of touched on that a little bit. So something like that, or something.
Sometimes fairy tales are just like, why'd you do that? Just because.
Yeah. So something kind of, but I think like something abstract that the players are kind of contending with via their interaction with this big bad.
So we were kind of just shooting around some general ideas before this started so that we had like a focus. We came up with these sort of parameters. But one thing that we were kind of talking about was the sort of the weird element of like familiar yet not. And so I think that because we were talking before about having essentially like a quest that is given to the player so that you can kind of go off of your campaign if you want that, or you could just start it as from scratch if you just have people going into an adventurers guild and pulling something down off the wall kind of thing. And my proposal is that there is a young boy or young girl who has like gone into a coma. It seems like a magically based illness. And so then you are sent out because there's like a magic user in your party or something just to go look and see what's going on. And then it is revealed that they have essentially been, their spirit or their intelligence has been pulled into the Fae realm for some reason, and that's why they're catatonic, and you have to kind of go into this mirror realm to get it back. Do we think that that's a good framework to start from, and then we can kind of go from there? Do people want to change that framework? Do people want to shelve it?
I think as an ultimate objective of being like save the boy, save the world.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I think that sounds good. I think that sounds good as one of the potential hooks.
Yes.
Because it could also be like you can approach the adventure in several different ways. I think that could also be fun. But I think we can start with the sort of like idea that there is something going on and it's because this little boy is asleep or something. Like,
and we don't even have to do a little boy. It could be like, maybe it's like a mage who's keeping the magical wall up around this town so that it doesn't get consumed by like this evil forest, going back to the forest thing. And like he's catatonic and the spell is about to wear off. And so they have to go in or something.
It's every child in the village.
Yeah, something like that works too. I like that a lot. And then basically you would just have some NPC or a player or whoever basically cast some sort of like scrying spell to find out where the spirits of the children or whatever framing device you use, and it's in the Fae. And so you have to then go.
So this is all before the.
This is set up, framing device. So then you go through the mirror, go into the woods or whatever it is. Maybe eerie woods have sprung up around the town ever since all these kids have gone into a coma. Whatever device you want, whatever realm makes you happiest. Okay, so let's talk about it. So we all the main characters, they go through the mirror, as it were, or into the woods, whatever. What is the kind of thing that we get to our location that we'll probably spend most of the adventure in?
What should the location be?
Yeah, because I was thinking like it could very easily be like a Fae court. It could, if it's all children, maybe it is the thing that we were talking about a little bit, where it's like they're all looking for like child like servants essentially, and so they are like brought all the spirits in, and they're like, okay, I want this one or this one, send the rest back.
There's like a room full of mirrors, and they can all see into the children's dreams or whatever, and that type of thing. Or, well, I think like the sort of the changeling story, right, is like, I feel like sometimes it's really different sometimes, but one of the versions is like a sick fairy will be like sent in place of will be swapped for a child, so that the sick fairy can be raised by the parents, by the human parents, and like nourished or whatever and brought back. Like it could be that type of thing. So it's like a ghoulish sort of like I don't know, hospital room where all these fairy lords are like looking for like new parents to steal or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that like it's kind of dark. It's like a weird, like different tier of healthcare type of thing.
These kids are not insured.
Yeah, it's like what's that TV show, Altered Carbon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or it could just be like summer camp for these kids. Like, we got to get them to boarding school. We got to, like, I can't have them around the house anymore kind of situation.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a whole fairy Rumspringa thing.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, we have to like pick the guardian parents or whatever for our kids. And then we have to like take these human kids into our houses and like force them to do chores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And... Okay.
And that's why all the children act out. Yeah.
Maybe one of the things that so if we are going with like
maybe it starts with them already swapped.
Yeah, maybe that is it. So that's okay. Sorry. I like this idea of the room and the selection process a lot. But I do think because we were talking about maybe a hook here, the magical coma is great. But if we kind of focus on a kid that's already been swapped, this kid has been acting strange. It's like the mayor's kid. Yeah. And, the mayor is like, hey, I don't know what's going on with my kid. They've been doing a lot of really weird stuff. I know you're strangers, but you're capable strangers. Maybe you could do something. Maybe actually the town has determined that this kid is a witch or a changeling or an other, and they're going to kill the kid.
What about this? Because I'm trying to marry this in, and I think there's an option here where it's like, yes, the kid has already been swapped, and maybe like some backstory that maybe the characters find, maybe they don't, is that like the mayor was trying to revitalize the village or something, and in the last like 5 years the village has been doing great. Like things are just awesome. The
crops are
great. Like the
cows
forest,
are cowing.
no matter how many times the loggers go into the woods to like bring out like high quality wood, there's just more and more and more, and they're just like, wow, this is great. And then at the end of this 5-year period, the
price must be paid.
Yeah, the kid got swapped, and so then maybe like my only worry about this framing is how long the players will stay in the like real world, I guess, before going into the like Fae area to try to find the actual child, unless we don't think that that's the thing. Maybe that's already happened. It's sealed, and you're just dealing with this kind of trickster kid.
I think maybe. Do we need to go to Faerie? You know,
we don't need to.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Is like we could just stay in this. I just think it's fun because I just like.
I think maybe we could like dip into Faerie. Like Faerie could be like one of the rooms of our not 5-room dungeon.
One of the settings
of
one
our
of the scenes
of our 5 to 12 location location based adventure site.
Okay, so let's say then, just to kind of like start us off, the group is traveling down the road.
Yep.
They come to a town. They need to take a rest. They've got a destination beyond this town. They get here, and things, like I said, it seems like this is a very prosperous town, but it is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it is surrounded by a thick, dense forest. The thing that we begin to occasionally observe is there is a child who is especially obnoxious, doing all sorts of pranks to the group. Let's have the kid occasionally interact with the group doing, something innocuous, like they tie the shoes together or the laces together of one of the players' shoes. They try and
we have a random table of different pranks, basically.
Table of pranks.
So this, I have two things. I like the idea of this being like a totally isolated village, and one of the things that the mayor got out of the fairies was basically a trading route being put through it, and so like the road that you're traveling down, it's like, oh, actually this is like kind of a shortcut, and so you see like this like
canopy,
this like beautiful like sort of this road that runs straight to the village that has like this beautiful canopy, and now there's like lively trade that runs right through this town, whereas before like this road was like abandoned or overgrown or whatever, and now like the fairy king has like allowed this to create like a path, a shortcut, and now this town is prosperous and stuff.
Yeah, I think that we should build a
now we get a little hint of the forest as well.
Yeah.
Because the forest can also be a location.
Yes, I agree. I think that maybe we should also make a thing that they can find either in the village or around or whatever is parts of like an old nursery rhyme or an old sort of like saying, or like maybe the villagers say something that give hints to like how that they can defeat or to like combat the sort of Fae intentions that are happening there.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
The second thing I was going to say is that I'm going to try to stray us away from copying Black Apple Brew, which is like very similar to this.
Oh, what is it? Oh, should we try something else? I don't know.
This it's pretty generic already.
Okay.
You know, like this is fine. It's just like kid gets swapped, acts up, whatever. Like that's not that crazy.
Yeah.
But it just made me think of that adventure as well. If people are interested in other fairy adventures, it's written for basic fantasy, but you can adapt it to all kinds of stuff.
Whatever. Yeah. So why don't we make 3 main locations that they can pop between, and then have like, we'll just start setting up different events and everything. Maybe we just do it if we want to keep it more of a setting module where we can just have tables of events and like different intentions happening around, and then the players can decide what to do. Or
I think maybe, because like maybe we should think about the midnight, right? Like what's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe this kid.
Okay, I got it. I got something.
Yeah.
Going back to our table of things that we want to include, the idea of like excess. What if, the town was like starving before, all that kind of stuff. Now with the trade route and the crops flourishing, everyone's been very like satiated. What if this kid like when at first was like just eating a lot and all that stuff, but then like cats and stuff are going missing, or the party sees it like him like bite like a head off a rat or something, and it's just like, and then it's like eating, and then by the time if it's midnight, then it's just like sort of like a gremlin that is like devouring everything in sight, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so that could be like a mini boss of like if they do not act, then this creature just starts becoming kind of hostile because it's going to start eating everything.
I feel like I kind of want it to be. I don't know. I like the idea of the kid already being swapped, but I kind of want it to also be like the midnight is like the contract is unfulfilled somehow. Like the Faerie King has. What if like?
But then player success could like in a very goosebumpsy way cause a fail state of you know what I mean? That could be interesting. Of like they swap it, but like by midnight tonight is when the contract is like done, and so if the switch is not made at midnight, then something bad happens.
What's the I guess like maybe like what's the problem that the villagers have right now,
Right.
Yeah, because right now everything's going great except for this kid is
being a nightmare.
Maybe in the past like couple months the kid has been like becoming more and more monstrous, more like obviously monstrous or something like that. And maybe it's because the real kid has found his way back home or something like that.
I'm trying to think.
And then it's like the contract is like being unfulfilled. So the Faerie King wants the kid back because it's like, hey, this isn't done yet. Like, you haven't completed the contract yet.
It could have been like for 5 years that they switched. And so that it's like raise my kid for 5 years and this will happen kind of thing. And then I'll give you your kid back. So maybe it's already like that's already happened. The kid has been gone for like 4 years and, X months. And it's just like at the end, this creature is sort of out of control at this point. And so you have to deal with that. But also if it's gone at the end, then the contract is unfulfilled and something bad will happen in the town. And it's also like, do we try to find the kid? I don't know. Maybe this is too complicated.
So
what if there's a twin brother?
I with a mustache.
Interestingly, I kind of wanted to. So I know we were laying a lot of complicated groundwork here, but this is brainstorming, right? So, what if we elevate this a little bit from town to something more royal. This is a small castle town, and there is a monarch there. There's a coronation about to happen. This monarchy, though it is small, has been self-sufficient and successful, protected, thankfully, by the woods which encircle it from any of the competing monarchies and powers. And the king or queen or whatever royal just died, and their now adult prince son is about to be coronated. And this is when the group is going to arrive, and the group is invited to stay for some lovely balls and things like that. This prince is or princess, if you like, is very gregarious. They want. They love newcomers. And over the course of time, you start to see more and more that this town has some weird little kinks, kind of strange things.
Yeah. I love this idea. What if, to go kind of to steal from Barkeep on the Borderlands, what if it was like 5 nights of events and the coronation is on the 5th night?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
that's fun. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. And then you're like just seeing different.
So Shade, is this Prince the Faerie?
The Faerie.
Okay.
And there's a problem, and the prince will warn them, because if the group says, well, hey, that's so lovely that you invite us to stay, but we really need to get on our way because we have this other adventure that we're doing, the prince will say, oh, friends, I wouldn't. For you see, this year marks the coming, and or something like that, you know, something, or the hunt. This year marks, this is the year of the hunt. And over the next few days, there is a terrible beast that will be roaming our woods. And this is going to culminate in all of us successfully hunting for this beast. And this beast is actually the original prince. And
in order to solidify his claim to this crown, he has to take out the beast.
There's going to be a great hunt for this.
That's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's what I think. I think that the 5th day is the hunt/coronation.
Yeah.
So everything is prepping for that moment.
Correct.
Right.
But if you go out into the woods, a beast,
right.
prince,
The beast is just running around.
It will get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I want a masquerade ball as one of the things. I think that that's going to be a great time.
I had as you were kind of formulating this, I had an alt thing in my head.
Okay.
That was kind of like, but I don't know if it works as well as the thing that you said, but I'm just trying to think if it would be helpful at all to even express. Let me think. It's like what if there's like the king on his deathbed is like we can't allow this
right.
This is, you know, we can't allow this kid to be crowned or whatever. It has to go to the younger sibling or something like that. That is still alive.
So the younger sibling knows that.
So this is another faction,
this
right?
This is absolutely. We need to have, because the players need to have something to go like, okay, yeah, like we don't want them to just be like, yeah, we'll do this hunt. We want them to kind of see through the cracks of this. There's something unnatural. Having people who are suspicious, like a younger sibling who's like, that is not the brother that I grew up with. That is not, like, well, yes, I grew up with him, but like, that is not who he was when we were children. There's something different.
And I think that what we can do is say, okay, this young sibling is like maybe 10 to 14, so doesn't have like a good claim on like cannot make a faction behind them as much because they are
and so there's
young.
like a vizier who is like also behind that, and so then that feels like kind of sinister to the players maybe a little bit.
And I mean, you know, we can lean into the tropes. The vizier is the fae who struck the bargain.
I like the idea of it being like
the fae is getting
a fairy.
Okay. I like the vizier. Maybe
because they would have. Well, they could have incentive to have that if they were like a rival to that.
Yeah.
Or it could.
And sorry, I have so many ideas now. I forgot the other idea I was going to say is that the thing that you said, the hunt thing that you were going to say. What I thought you were going to say was the reason that this was happening. The reason that everything had been like, you know, it's like the kingdom was getting fattened up, and so that at the end of the 5 days, all the fairies are actually going to come in and like take over the kingdom.
That's pretty.
That
cool.
is fun.
That's pretty cool.
I like both of these ideas.
Okay, hold on. How
can we make both work?
We can make this. We can make both work. So, okay, let's say that.
And only the person who kills the prince is spared from the like whoever kills the beast.
So
you get a sticker and your life.
I think we can do this in a softer fashion because hunting is great, farming is better. Ultimately, it's way better to have a consistent, renewable source of food. And so you they had one of the little weird rituals that they can uncover is when people get a certain age, they have to take a walk into the woods to face the beast. But it's not really the beast. It is the other fae who are going to be there to eat that person. Now, when people come back from this,
I think that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe they just don't remember. Maybe they
get eaten?
Maybe they do get eaten. Maybe they do.
Maybe they replaced.
Maybe they were replaced. Maybe they lose something to the fae, including this core memory of going in.
Yeah, maybe it's not. Yeah, maybe it's just like they go in and they lose something instead of being eaten. Yeah.
If we wanted to do a replacement thing, we could make it like the duty of the nobles, like part of coming of age as a noble is to walk into the woods and like hunt their beast or whatever, and it's them being replaced by fairies, so that all of the noble structure is like fae. We could do something like that too. But let's put that to the side for a second.
It feels a little OP.
Okay, fair enough.
I think I like the idea of there being enough competing factions to feel like you could actually play people against each other, where like there's still enough human nobility to have their own faction. Like maybe some of them are replaced by fairies.
So
too.
let's make a faction list. Why don't we say, okay, so there's the Faerie, the main Faerie.
Yeah, the main prince who's about to be crowned.
There's the renegade royalty, the ones who are actually royals.
They're trying to uncover something,
and they don't know what, but they're like, this isn't right.
Maybe there's like, sorry, that made me think of like, maybe there's like an independent, like maybe there's like a monk who's like studying books or something and is like trying to uncover something or whatever. Like a little group of researchers that is just investigating the fairies.
What, and to have someone to play them off of. What if there's like the old hermit sort of school thing, but then there's like the university people who are like, there's no such thing as fairies or whatever. Like the Feywild is not like that. That is a place that you go to. This is how you get there. It's not here.
Right.
And so they can also,
Okay.
So then the
merchants.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Merchants.
Oh,
merchants.
well, I mean, the merchants have an investment in the town staying the way it is.
Exactly.
So maybe they're even like kind of aware of something is going on, but they're just like
they should be aware of like something untoward is happening. Like we're giving something up as people, but we don't know what it is.
Because it could be traveling merchants too, and they're just like, we don't care about like the political structure of this town. We just want it to be a place that we can go through and the roads are maintained.
So let's say, the prince to be crowned, the renegade human nobility, the merchants, the dismissive scholars. I'm going to call them the hunters, the people who are
pulling the people in to steal their essence.
No, I was thinking like people who are
who want to hunt the beast,
who want to hunt the beast. Yeah.
Okay, guys, this might be too much for a one shot, but I really like the idea that all of these...
This isn't a one-shot, this is a setting now.
Yeah, at this point, it's sort of going this way. But, like, this could be an idea that we throw out. I'm totally fine with that. But I like the idea that the townsfolk are a faction, and essentially you can help any of the other factions win over the townsfolk. And so, like, you can be like, I think these scholars are right, so I'm going to go help them do whatever they're going to do. And they're like, we want to prove that fairies are not here, or whatever it is. And then, like, the merchants are like, we want to make sure that, like, the current prince gets into power because that he has promised us, like, no tariffs or whatever. And so everyone, and then, like, the prince could be a non-faction because he's just in power right now. So he's like, welcome, whatever, but it's gone. And then like the renegades are like, something's going on here.
The prince,
the fairy prince. Maybe that's not like a faction that you.
I think he's a faction because he's like trying to he's got his own supporters who are all charmed by him somehow, or maybe
and maybe like the like lever starts pointing at him kind of thing. And if you fail quests by certain things, the favorability would like push it more towards the prince. But if you like succeed in tasks, that it kind of goes towards other things. I don't know. Sense. This might be a mechanic that's way too. I think that even as I'm saying it, I'm like, I
think the swaying feels good, but I think let's keep that in mind, and then just like if there's a need for it, I think we can try to go for it. Yeah, because there might not be a need for it depending on the actions of the. The players, right?
It could just be that at the end, if the townsfolk are favoring the current Fae prince, that at the end they participate in the hunt, and that's just like a setting state where, like, as you go out, like there are villagers like walking around with spears, and they're all like, "Oh, we're so excited!" Blah 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 blah. But if it's the other way, then people are sort of like, "I don't know, this kind of feels weird." Like he said that this always happens, but I don't remember this happening in the past, and like becoming sort of like a what is this thing?
Okay, I want another faction, and I want it to be the fairy prince's real dad, and the fairy prince's dad just thinks like, it's like, what are you doing here?
Come home.
Come home. Like, this is dumb. Like, why?
I like that. So
it's like, why?
Let's get rid of the scholars. Let's get rid of them. Okay. Let's put in the real fairy king or whatever. Yeah.
I'll call him the Oberon just for
that's
myself. So the Oberon once wants the
prince
prince to end his play.
Yeah,
because the
it's like
prince has
you're playing
been
around
gone
too
for
much.
5 years. You know, it's like that's a lot of time.
How old is the prince?
So I think the prince needs to be at that like 17, 18.
I think so too.
Like kind of
because then swapped in at 13 when you're hitting puberty or whatever, so you're acting out.
So the last few years have been different. Than he was when he was 12.
And we can make it like an orphan thing, and I mean the movie The Orphan, where like the fae is like 1,000-year-old fairy and it's just been pretending to be a child.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so we have the real fairy king, the fairy prince that is pretending to be the real prince. We have the renegade nobles, and we have.
I like the idea actually of the renegade nobles, maybe like. So like the younger sibling maybe being like having like I don't know like a babysitter or like a something like that,
so
who has like a lot of the knowledge of being like, and then has a lot of the rhymes and stuff.
I was gonna say, I had so clearly in my head, like the kindly old woman who has all the old ways,
totally.
and almost feels like she should be a hag, like she should be a red herring, but she's not actually a hag. It turns out no, she just knows what's fucking going on.
It's like passed down knowledge. I think I hate how many factions I threw out there. I think it's just 3. I think it is the fairy king, the renegade nobles, and like the fairy prince.
Okay.
The fairy king and the renegade nobles want the fairy prince to go back home. The fairy prince, who has the most power in this setting right now, does not want to go home. Wants to rule forever.
Right.
Yep.
And the
nobility wants him to be deposed because
something's
wrong. There's got to be a good reason for it. Maybe they want to do like. I
think on one of the days we have the masquerade ball maybe to start off. So that's like information gathering, all that kind of stuff. The next night maybe it's like I want to basically go from not sinister to sinister. So like maybe like the 4th night is like, all right, before we have our feast, we're going to bring out all of like this week's criminals and we're going to hang them in front of everyone. Like something like super scary, you know what I mean? So that you're like, what is happening? Because we want to still make it like spooky and all that stuff.
I think with the masquerade, so like let's talk about the big events that are going to happen in a day. So let's say that this is a 5-day event. It culminates in the hunt. So day 1 is...
Let's make it, just because of the length of the game,
3-day event.
A 3-day event, and like an hour an event.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that, maybe a little longer.
Hour 20. So if we do day 1 should be something that's inconspicuous, but
it's just like a festival in the town.
It's just a basic festival. But I think that some of the games should be a little unusual. So,
but only some of them.
What I mean, some of the games are strange,
and so that they can go play it. But maybe the rewards on those ones, like for the other ones, it's like, oh, a silver piece or like a piece of bread that's warm, and then you go to one and it's like, oh, that's a magic dagger. But then it's like they take a finger or something crazy.
Well, and here's another.
That feels really
bad. Because it's Fae, iron, silver, one of those two things should just be conspicuously absent.
Yeah.
So let's say that some of the games are
they don't use silver pieces; they only use gold pieces in town. Because it's like to show the wealth of the town.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's
no silver, just gold.
And then anytime you have to make change, you have to it's like pieces of 8.
Yeah.
You have to cut them up or whatever.
It's like shaving or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think if we pick out some of these games, I think of a fun, weird game would be something where maybe you have to I don't want to be I don't want to be
You have to
violent
guess
to
what's
animals.
inside
So yeah,
of
you
a
have
box or
to
whatever.
guess what's inside a box. That's good.
It's just like
Yeah, what's inside the box? Like, and what's inside is a frog with no eyes or something wild like that.
yeah.
Frog with 3 eyes.
Something
Frog with 3 eyes.
Yeah.
That's even better. What's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Frog with 3 eyes.
One of them could be an eating contest.
Yes, a pie eating contest.
Frog pie.
Eyeball
But
pie.
I think that the winner, like if one of your players is hungry for the rest of the time.
Yeah, because it's fairy food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no matter how much they eat after this, they are hungry. A curse has been put on them.
They get like
okay.
one level of exhaustion when they wake up the next day.
Yeah,
It's
something like
you
that.
didn't eat enough yesterday. You have a level of exhaustion kind of thing, or like whatever the equivalent of the system you're playing in.
Yeah. So I think I also like the idea of like this also. Like I do like the sort of the time-based thing, right? But then also I think the location feels important too, like where it's like we can sort of like make the neighborhoods kind of nebulous, and so like important locations will be like, here's, you know, a little, maybe like a crypt where, you know, like this is where the family is, like the family crypt or something like that. You can gain clues from there, and then
What if it's a haunted house in the crypt, like they made, and like some people are like, this is sacrilegious and blah blah blah, and the prince is like, no, it's fun, we're having fun.
oh, because the dad just died. And so
Okay.
so the crypt is important then.
Yeah.
And then if you like examine the dad's body, you can find clues that he has been like doing contracts with the Fae.
Yeah, and I like that because that can also be the like the townsfolk are like, I don't feel very good about this. Like this feels
Yeah.
bad.
They would need a
but it's
reason-
like the prince's order to do this.
Yeah, the
You know?
players would need a reason to go into the crypt though.
Well, it would be a game. It would be one of the games that
Oh.
like it's a like if you make it to the end of the haunted house and then come
Oh,
back
I
with
see what you're
something.
saying.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. It feels
I don't know how we would do it as a game. as a
Yeah, it
minigame.
feels
I do
less-
like it though.
it feels less adventure-y and more like something else.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like obviously a part of me is like kind of like this should be adventure, and so
What
we're
about-
like exploring the crypt somehow. But it's like I don't want to do like skeletons and shit because that feels like overdone.
Yeah, but what if it like it's not even a combat encounter yet?
Yeah.
No combat or anything. You know, in like Japanese like campus festivals, they have that game where you like draw like a piece of paper out of the bowl and you read and you have to get whatever it is on there.
Like a scavenger hunt of sorts.
Yeah, like a scavenger hunt. And they like
okay.
open it up, but it's all like fucking strange items that
And
they
it's
have to
stuff
go
from
look
the
for.
crypt.
Yeah, and it's stuff from the crypt.
Ooh,
Okay.
Strange items from the crypt is interesting, and there should
As
be
a
a
scavenger hunt,
there should
yeah.
be a very clear mark. Ooh, okay. Sorry. There's a clear marker
Shane's
here.
cooking.
The crypt has magical words around it.
Mm-hmm.
It has a salt ring around it.
Oh.
It has something that is meant to keep the spirits in, is the way that the saying goes, but also keep the spirits out.
Keep the fairies
keep
out?
the fairies out
Yeah.
specifically. And the things in there
Are things that the fairies
things
want.
that the fairies want for this brew that they're going to do for the final hunt.
and the sun never goes into the crypt.
The
Conspicuous.
sun never goes into the crypt. The sun, you
And that
actually
could be something that they're like you overhear as you enter the town of like
He hasn't even visited his father's
like he
crypt
must
yet.
he's so broken up, like he hasn't left the castle, he hasn't even gone to his father's crypt yet. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe it's like no, I don't know. But like whatever the GM wants it to be.
Yeah,
It could
like
be-
the items need to be like the toe of a sailor, and there was, and this is not a place that has a sea next to it. It's surrounded by a forest,
Yeah.
but there is indeed someone who was a sailor who came and settled here inside of this crypt.
There should be a very good prize for completing the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I think that maybe the prince or whatever's like, oh, we're holding a festival tomorrow. We're so excited to have you. And then it's like, by the way, like these are some of like the town's like finest games. Like I can't recommend every festival.
Yeah.
Like I direct people there, and it is the eating contest, the box, and the guessing box, and the crypt scavenger hunt, or just the scavenger hunt. But it just so happens that all of the things that the party opens are
I think
in the crypt.
I think the scavenger hunt should be something that they can do at any time.
Yeah.
During the days.
I like that.
And then, because then I think it's like, I want to basically encourage exploration.
Yeah.
And so like this little festival thing can be just happening during the whole time.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, you can eat the pies at any point. You can do whatever at any point,
Yeah.
etc. And then like each of the subsequent days, you just have an extra thing happen.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say was the factions. It's like, so what happens if the players do nothing, right? And like what are the factions?
The prince maintains power.
What are the factions doing to further their goals?
Right.
Because I think like the prince maintaining power is just status quo. So I think whatever happens at midnight should be completely status quo breaking.
Yeah.
Like maybe
what if
I don't know.
What if he needs? This is like far, but let me just say it, and then we can work on it if we want to keep it. But what if like the fairy needs something in the crypt to summon like the spirit of the brother or the actual prince into the physical form that's out there or something like that? So it's like a permanent kill or something.
So I mean, I like that.
I just don't know how.
Yeah, like the why, what they need from the crypt is a good question. Yeah. I think I do also kind of like the crypt as like an extra though. Like it's a reward for going. So I'm kind of on the fence about those.
Because you get rewarded with the information.
Yeah.
And then you get rewarded with something else. You get rewarded with any information if you examine the king's body.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what if
you get
Well, what if it's like a toe of a sailor, blah blah blah, but then the last one, it turns out the only like descriptor of that person is the king, and he needs a piece of the king.
He needs
to be
something
able to anchor him.
Well, it could also be like the king has taken things from Faerie as like rewards and like as something, or like he's stolen something before from Faerie, and like that is like
maybe it's like a ring finger, but on the ring finger is like a magical ring or something. Some weird.
And it should also
shit.
be stuff that the players can keep if they want.
Yeah,
if they want to be like, oh, I'm going to keep this, and then like,
what if it's like
the fairies are like, what the fuck? That's mine.
It's a wish ring with one of the wishes expended.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Would
Yeah,
be
like
fun.
a modified. System agnostic, but it's like a thing that can a ring of desire or something.
I was gonna say one other small contest should be a dancing contest.
Sure. I think that should be at the
or it could just be at the ball.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. But,
second night is ball, and then third night is hunt.
Yeah.
So
third day is hunt or third night? I think third day, that should like that hour that you're spending should be in the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, like we refer to night day.
Yeah.
We're
not tracking time.
We're not tracking time like that.
You
Yeah.
could track time like that.
I mean, we could, but I think that like if we need to keep in mind if we're aiming for this to be a one shot, tracking like what'd you do during the daytime? Whereas if we do during kind of like scene, okay, we're on now day 2, it is evening, kind of thing.
Maybe we're making this too difficult. What if it's a 2-day event? The day is the festival. The night is the mass ball. The next day is the hunt.
Or the mass, or it's I like the idea of a midnight hunt or a witching hour hunt.
Yeah,
something like that. So like
a dusk hunt because of Faerie.
Yep, that also works.
And so that way the festival goes on both days. So like you said, they can kind of go and do whatever they want during that. We designed the ball to have specific things. The next day is like them returning, them doing the other stuff that they didn't do. Maybe you can say like out of like you had the poker chips of like removing maybe every time they decide to play a game or every time they commit to something, it removes a certain amount of chips. And then they only have a certain amount of things they can do in a day. Yeah. And then they go the night, same sort of thing. They go back to the day, they get their chips back so they can try other things.
I think the difficulty here is just that it's a village, and so it's like the location is like this, and so there's no sort of like the time constraint isn't there that you would have like if you were just like adventuring in a dungeon or something like that, and the time pressure is like when are you going to get attacked by a monster next?
Yeah, I think we do create a table of random things that can happen in the festival, just like in the crowd, so that like you're mixing in the fairy stuff.
The fairies start coming in.
And this is what I was going to say is like
fairies are excited for the celebration.
The kind of like midnight doom clock here is we should slowly be peppering in that the woods seem to be getting thicker and bristlier and darker, slowly until this has completely swallowed the town up and it will be fully pulled into
The Fae.
Fae. Which Oberon, the Oberon king or the Fae king.
That's his way of bringing his son back home.
Is his way of bringing the sun back home, but
Okay,
also the son is going to do this regardless
because he wants a kingdom to rule over even in the Fae, right?
Yeah.
And it could be, and that's the difference between those two factions is the king, and we might have to design some way to like meet the king or whatever, be part of the thing, is like the king is like, just bring me my son back. I don't care. I don't need this whole like village in my realm.
Right.
I just want that.
I just want my kid back. He can play his
once they go to college, it's so hard to connect with them.
And if you bring him back, then like the fairy king doesn't swallow the entire village. Yeah.
Right.
And the thing, I think, one of the big pieces of information is maybe the king has, sewn in his jacket a little rhyme or something that specifically allows you to speak to the king,
Lets
the
you
other
summon
king,
them,
through a mirror or something like that.
Should we have maybe the guy who's at the guessing booth, if you guess, well, it doesn't matter what you guess, but like maybe the person at the guessing booth is the king, like the Oberon, I should say. And that's how you meet and talk with him.
So
because otherwise, when do you talk to him?
Why wouldn't he just march up and grab his son then?
Maybe the son never leaves the castle, and the castle's like protected in some way. Or...
I was thinking that Oberon would just like not like he's gonna solve like the way that he's gonna solve his problem is by doing this, and that like maybe he puts out some kind of feelers to the party or something like that. But like I think there should be dungeons in the forest.
Yeah.
I think there should be something in the forest that you can go to and you can like cross over or something and then be in the fairy king's realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like maybe the poem says something like at midnight's hour beneath the bough.
Yeah.
Turn left 3 times and
moo like
ready,
a cow.
and moo like a cow, something like that, or and be ready to bow, or
Oh, okay, I like that.
Something silly like that. But I do agree going into the Fae would be good.
I think I agree. I think
that's why we're making it 2 days because
but I'm
we
thinking
just throw in a fucking Fae dungeon now.
Yeah, it's not a one shot anymore. Do we care?
I don't give a shit.
I think you can still achieve some of this as a one shot. Like this is just location based, and it's the clock that's going to matter because these are all extras that we can do. The clock is what's going to matter, and the big pieces that the group needs to figure out is the prince is not who he says he is.
And if they just kill the prince, then the fucking Oberon guy will
come and bring the town into the space and absolutely rain down hell.
Yeah.
Like that's how I would say.
I think if the son is killed, then I think he just comes into the town, and then that's an encounter,
Yeah, that's
like he's like grieving or whatever. He's furious or whatever. Versus it being like, oh, I'm just gonna swallow up this town and bring it into my realm. That's very different from like I'm gonna destroy this town because they killed my son.
Yeah,
but so again, this is me thinking about trying to keep it succinct for a one shot, having 2 combats, because if the prince dies, it probably is 2 combats, right?
Well, right, but I think
you might not need to combat the king. But I was thinking like even if like the party, like you kill the prince or whatever, but your hands, like you've washed the blood off and everything, but your hands are red.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like
I love that.
That's how that's how you're marked as like
and like on and like one of them as they like they look up into the mirror above the sink or something, and it's like like I'll be seeing you soon or something like that.
Something like that. That's a good cliffhanger.
That's really good. Because
that's, again, perfect way to end something. You got to decide where to
because
end.
then you're like, oh, we beat the prince. Like this guy was blah blah blah, and then this is like you're left with this consequence.
Another kind of end state here, or a path towards that, is figuring out that the beast in the woods is in fact the real prince, and if you have an ability, maybe there's something your group can find inside of the town.
Like
maybe it's
like
one of the prizes, or maybe
toy
it's
of his or something like in the castle. That
I love that. That reminds him
that the fairy prince has kept secret somewhere.
Yeah, I love this. And like, I bet that during the masked ball would be a great time for them to try to find it.
Try to find it. Yep.
The other thing, like, we're cooking. Do we think that like one of the ways to like remove the fairy prince's power is to make the prince and him like be in the same room?
Correct. Yes. So what I was gonna say is that's
why the fairy prince can't hunt himself.
Yes,
correct,
and that's why he's doing the event.
Yeah. If they can get him in the same room, then it really invalidates a lot of the magic that this guy has, and his form begins to change back to what it should be, which is some horrible, terrible visage of a fae,
and I think it should
wood
be
folk kind
it
of
should
thing.
be sort of bestial too.
Yeah.
I think because it's like, what did you make the prince? It's sort of like what you hate about yourself, kind of thing.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the
I think fairies
festival.
like probably always have glamours on.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
So he's like, this
and
is
like
what I
that
look
should be in the description too. It's like, man, the light is hitting this person like amazing. What
This
a profile.
He's hot.
This guy sparkles.
What about?
And he's 18, so it's okay to say that.
Oh man!
How long have you been 18?
Jesus Christ! I hate all of that. I hate all of it so much.
So we have the festival. We have the three games. We have the three games. I think that we can talk about maybe later, like what the specifics are when we actually build this to release. Then we can have those specific things that are shown in that. So that's what's happening during the festival. We also have what's happening in the woods with this beast roaming around. I think that if on the second day you go into the woods with the whatever, then you can like convince the prince is like conversable, and if not, then maybe not. So we have not touched really the masquerade ball, which I think would be like an important place to do.
I think a lot of fairy nobility will show up to this.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's like bird masks, like everyone's wearing bird masks, but some of them look really realistic. You know, like
some of them,
shit.
Some of them really fit into the bird mask.
Yeah.
Like if they have like bird faces.
Yeah, and we haven't. We can just like trash.
This guy's got bird face.
This guy's such a bird face.
Don Oliver.
This guy, very true. This guy,
yeah, Toucan Sam.
Is like maybe we just trash the factionality thing because maybe we don't even need
faction's important.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the like how we involve the nobility.
It's basically the way faction play works is you just have different groups wanting different things, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just people that they can talk to and find out information from.
Yes, that's how faction works.
Yeah, okay, great. And then maybe there are factions in the festival as well. Like
I think when you
just people walking around
basically
that are very much
when you have like a bigger setting or whatever, factions can be more complicated because they'll try to achieve different missions, and then they'll try to also like rope the player characters into stuff. And so like they'll get different missions, they'll get different resources, they'll get different whatever over time as they evolve. But if it's just like a one shot, it's a 2-day adventure, whatever. All these guys need are wants and resources. And I think that's it. And then like, you know, goals, you know, they'll try, I think like giving them something to do on the day that they try to do something, you know, like if during the masquerade or whatever, like the nobility like decides to stage a coup, you know, maybe they're only so emboldened if the adventurers try to intervene, or maybe they just try to go with that plan anyway and they get killed.
Yeah.
And like if the players do nothing, there's a coup attempt, the fairies all eviscerate the people that try to do the coup, and like that's the story. If the adventurers don't show up.
If the adventurers don't show up, they try the coup while the hunt is happening on the second day. Okay. All the fairies kill them and replace them.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so it's just, and then that gets pulled into the realm or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's something like that.
Something like that.
So that is down that way. You can also meet these people at the masquerade and convince them not to do that or whatever.
If you're not at the hunt and you're in the castle, you see the coup attempt happen. Yeah. And if you're not there, you don't. Yeah. And then you just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the end states, it sounds like, are if the fairy king is not, Oberon is not satiated, the party's going to end up in the Fae, and they have to escape the Fae next session or whatever.
Yeah.
If the prince wins, but the dad doesn't pull the whole area into the Fae somehow, then maybe you're just allowed to leave. I don't know. Like they're just maybe he's like I'm so glad that you came. I hope you had fun. Congrats on your journey.
It would have to be like a whole like thing where you convince the Fairy King to not pull the realm into Faerie.
Yeah, but then also like leave him alone. Like maybe he gives you like he's like if you do this, like if you find out that much,
if you kill the beast,
if you kill the beast,
if you kill the beast, I like you.
Yeah,
and also if you convince my dad to not pull this whole realm into Faerie because I like being in this human world because you guys are all funny.
So that's like an optional end state. Yeah. And then the other one is like maybe you can, even if you don't do all the other stuff, maybe you can take part in the coup and like kill who you think is just like a crazy prince.
Yeah.
And then like they turn into a weird bird or whatever, the blood hands thing happens and then you're out.
And then you can also save the real prince and have him replaced and then, have the fairy prince exposed. You might have to fight him or something. And then, it might end up the same thing, blood hands. Yeah. Or, you could...
Or maybe if you know the dad wants him back at that point, you could be like, hey, this is going to happen.
Hey, Dad, I got him.
Yeah, and then he gets pulled in or whatever.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, Dad, come on. And then you're just like, oh, this is the ideal ending is to save the real prince.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. We should talk a little bit before we close out, because we're coming close to the end here, about things that can happen at the masquerade. I think part of this is just a table like we did for the other thing. But is there anything specific that we want, like the games that are happening?
I think that if you dance with the prince, if you do, the prince will invite like someone to waltz with them. If you do that waltz with the prince, you will be given a lovely plus, like a little small modifier to your dexterity or
plus
whatever,
1 to charisma or whatever.
But if that's just this lovely little boon, and isn't it great? Until later, if you turn against the prince or do something that displeases the prince, you end up in a waltz that you cannot escape from.
Yeah, I think it just becomes like a thing of like a legendary action, like a Fae action, where you start to dance and like you have to break out of like a charmed state after that.
But specifically if you waltzed with the prince.
Exactly. So that's one.
We should have,
I think, something with the vizier and the other, like, or the nobles or something, just so that like it makes the players look at that faction. Because there'll be, I think that if the GM is solid, then they will also sprinkle some of that in the festival. But this is where we can, like, that information.
I think you could have found. You could probably have somebody being dragged out at some point because they're trying to break into the prince's bedroom to steal the little whatever artifact or something. Yeah. I don't know.
And they're in the dungeon that you could go visit them or something.
Okay. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Like that happens during the party. They're saying crazy things.
That could also just always be there. Like you go down into the dungeons and then like, oh yeah, like, hey, I tried to steal this thing. Somebody asked me to do this.
Yeah. They could be part of the fucking games for the basic festival. They're in stocks and
that's great. That's a great idea.
And you're supposed to try and throw and hit them with tomatoes, rotten tomatoes.
What if it's not tomatoes? What if it's like rocks or something? Like it's a little dark. Like you're like, what's wrong with this town? Like maybe it's not.
You can make it more dark for sure.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. It's a sliding scale.
Absolutely. Slide that as much as you want. The rocks really scares me, but but if you start to talk to this person, they say random things like, the prince is a pig. He's a swine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What he means is that the actual prince is the wild boar that's
out been spelled. Yeah. That's great. I love that. That's cool. And like that would be such a fun thing too if you're having a conversation as a GM to like, how can you say, like, he's spelled that he can say the truth but in an indirect way.
Yeah. The prince is a monster.
Yeah. And so everyone's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So we have something that happens with the other faction at the masquerade party. We have the
prince dance.
The prince dance. I think that there should be something with one of like these bird people, like the masks that are a little too real kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe the masquerade is just an opportunity to surreptitiously explore the castle.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like that a lot. But like, if you like random events, I think just we'll make a table that kind of describes some of the peculiarities that you can then kind of dive in on.
It could just be like a little set dressing. If you're just like, you're on the dance floor and you notice this, you're on the dance floor, you notice that.
Yeah. I think another one fun thing to notice is there's someone wearing the same mask as you and the same outfit as you across the way. That's fun. And they almost look like it's you behind that mask, but not quite.
Yeah.
And
I like that a lot.
That's just a fun little weirder.
The only thing, I guess, we have the scavenger hunt to send you to the catacombs, but maybe there's also like a conversation you could overhear or something where like the renegade faction is like, we got like, or is that the prince trying to get something? It's the prince getting something from the catacombs.
Yeah.
So that's like for the prince, not for. I just think that we want something in the daytime to make people aware of this renegade faction, but maybe not.
Right. And I think
maybe it's just stuff they overhear with the guards or whatever, like like the young princess has been like keeping her distance from everybody lately and she's only with her vizier or something like that, and that's like, what's going on there? And then at the party you can explore that.
Maybe, I mean, part of that faction is also the nanny.
Yes, the nanny. We have to involve her in something. Maybe she's like doing story time at the one of the events that they can stumble into. Something is like a story time 100%. For kids.
Yeah, I think maybe she's carving strange figurines.
She's carving a pupazza.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe like the prince is always like frowning or something, or like doesn't like her, like it's like, oh, I hate that maid or whatever, something like that. As soon as I'm king, I'm firing her and getting a much better one for my sister, something like that. Did we come up with this? I
think we got a good rough kind of start.
And then you were saying like, did we come up with this? Is this original or
no? I'm like,
did we just rewrite something?
I think we wrote it. I think we wrote this. But I think also then, depending on your kind of fail state or success state or whatever, at the end there's potential fights. I think that also we can like have some stat blocks under there if like you want to throw thieves at them or whatever, and whatever. I don't care.
Use a thief from the system of your choice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. But like that will be on the rolled table. So cool. All right, everyone. This was us building. Do we have a name for this?
No,
not yet. But
of bears and men.
Of bears and men. How
the prince is a bear outside. That's
it's a boar.
What?
Didn't you
boar.
say?
I said
boar.
Oh, a boar.
Yeah. Of boars
he's
and
a
men.
swine. Is a.
Yeah.
How about?
Pictured him as a big wolf.
A big wolf. That's also fun. Yeah. I pictured him as the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Disney's.
That's fun.
That's
a quiet little village. Is that what we're calling this?
Little town.
Oh God, I want to get a good name.
Yeah, a name would be good, so that people can maybe look it up, assuming that we get it built in time for this episode.
Oh God, terrifying.
What about?
Pupazza's Revenge.
Something the prince.
Two princes kneel before you.
The Prince in the Forest.
Yeah, let's do that.
The Prince in the Forest, because
the Wood Prince.
The Wood Prince.
The Wood Prince and the Woods Prince. Because there's one of them is made of wood.
Well, the prince is
that
wood.
What you said? That he's made of wood?
I said something like that. Yeah. Something like that. Well, you know what's going to be really cool? In the description of this episode, I bet if we made this, we'll probably have it linked. So you can check there.
Yeah.
And if we didn't do that, you know what that means? You didn't look hard enough.
It's there somewhere.
Google more about Tabletop. Just keep Googling it.
You should probably go to our Patreon and you can join even as a free member to just see if it's there, and then maybe go to our Discord by going to tabletopod.com, hitting that Discord button to join our Discord, and you can ask us directly if you don't find it. But it's there if you look hard enough. Thank you all for this wonderful episode, and I hope you enjoyed us talking about Halloween one-shot.
Episode.
Thank you,
Franco.
Thank you for this episode.
And then we'll see you next Monday for another episode of Tabletop. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.